So today we need to talk about Keilan Robinson, the Alabama Crimson Tide running back, entering his name into the transfer portal. Because yesterday, as I just gotten done and put out the videos talking about recruiting and then transfer portal news, it was announced that the very talented Crimson Tide running back would be hitting the portal. And we've got to talk about this because this is big news, not only in the fact that, like I said, how talented Robinson is, but what this means for the Alabama Crimson Tide. And we have got to break it all down. But before we do, as always, y'all know the drill. I want to hear from y'all. Hop down to the comments. Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Were you surprised that Keilan Robinson is transferring? And let me know what you're thinking. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, hit that bell notification because I do constant college football content and you don't want to miss any of it. And if you enjoy that content, be sure to like, comment down below. Those interactions are really massive for content creators such as myself. But with all of that being said, let's break this down. And first and foremost, I think this is one of those situations where Tide fans aren't surprised that a running back is transferring. They're surprised as who the running back is that's transferring, because Keilan Robinson was an individual who not only were Tide fans very, very excited for, but you heard a lot of good things from the Tide coaching staff about this young man. Very explosive. In fact, a lot of the Crimson Tide fan base can remember him for breaking off long runs and being very fast. This kid has home run ability. And in fact, in the spring, we even heard how Nick Saban was looking to utilize that home run ability out the slot position when the Crimson Tide staff were continuously saying they needed more speed on the outside. They tinkered with Robinson in that slot position to be able to maximize his ability to be a home run hitter with the ball in his hand. And that right there is why a kid such as him is going to be a hot name on the transfer market. Make no mistake about it, because all these teams are going to look at how incredibly talented he is and see how he could improve their ability and their chances of winning football games. This kid right here is going to be having a ton of callers, a ton of suitors, and I'm rooting for him. I'm hoping he goes out there and can shine and show everybody how talented he is, because it's just unfortunate when you look at this Crimson Tide room how loaded it is. But Keilan Robinson offers a ton of versatility, whether he's in the backfield as a running back, out the back as more of a playmaker, or lining up in the slot position. This kid has that versatility that the modern game of college football is looking for. The fact that he sat out last season is unfortunate as far as being away from the game of college football for a year, but we completely understand it's always up to the individual whether they wanted to sit out last year, because they could have extraneous circumstances that we just don't know about. And so I always want to respect anybody's decision to do what's best for them. This is a kid, like I said, he's going to be so highly sought after on the transfer portal because of his versatility. I'm not going to be surprised at all if half the nation is calling him right now. But where does this leave the Alabama Crimson Tide? Interestingly enough, when we look at the Crimson Tide running back room, this running back room is still slam-packed loaded. And it does hurt anytime you lose a guy that has the versatility of Robinson, right? Whether we talked about using him out the slot, out the backfield as a pass catcher, or in your traditional running back, since he does have that home run hitting ability. Now, I tried to see what his 100-meter times were just so I could get a grasp of like his actual track speed, and I couldn't find them. But this is where I think Tide fans need to be aware of what the Crimson Tide currently have in that running back room. Because Kamar Wheaton, the true freshman who just got on campus, is another guy that has lightning speed. In fact, I've talked about it before. I don't think the Crimson Tide fan base realizes just how fast this kid is. When you watch his highlight tapes, it's obvious that he's fast, but I'm just going to tell you now, that division he plays in, almost everybody's fast. That division he plays in is very competitive, and this North Texas area of large high school football, yeah, it's loaded with dudes who are in track and football. Very athletic guys out here. When you watch him, you get a glimpse of just how talented he is, but when you look at his track numbers for Kamar Wheaton, it's unbelievable how fast this kid is. And in fact, as a sophomore in high school, he ran a 10.62 100-meter dash. This is where I want to put this in comparison, because I've seen a lot of Tide fans, rightfully so, incredibly excited about Christian Leary and the blazing speed he offers, because that kid is a blazer. It's important to know that as a junior, Christian Leary ran a 10.5, so he is a absolute bona fide speedster, because Henry Ruggs ran a 10.58. But Kamar Wheaton is right there as a sophomore running a 10.62. Put that into perspective. Henry Ruggs ran a 10.58, and as a sophomore, Kamar Wheaton ran a 10.62. I'm not claiming Kamar Wheaton is Henry Ruggs or Christian Leary fast. I don't believe he is, because those guys right there are freaky fast. But if there was a 1 to Henry Ruggs and Christian Leary, Kamar Wheaton would be that 1A. He does have that ability, and it has been rumored that he has even been clocked at a 4.32 40-yard dash while in high school. This kid has that home running ability, and he's not the only one. We saw last year Jace McClellan hop on the scene, and I had been talking about Jace McClellan on this channel kind of the same way I'm talking about Kamar Wheaton right now, saying, I understand we all realize he's talented, but I don't think people realize the depth of talent Jace McClellan possesses. Then he goes out there and averages 8 yards per carry, and the rest is history. We know he's going to be a dude this year. I'm not claiming Kamar Wheaton is going to be able to come in and do all of the versatile things Robinson's going to be able to give a team day one, because Robinson has that experience. What I am saying, though, is when you look at the Alabama Crimson Tide running back room, with Brian Robinson coming back, kind of being the bell cow type guy, and then you have Jace McClellan behind him, Roydell Williams, who had a phenomenal spring, and then you bring in a speedster at Kamar Wheaton in at that running back spot. It's a position right now where it is incredibly unfortunate for the Crimson Tide to lose a running back that is as talented as Keilan Robinson. But oh my, this room is absolutely loaded. Just absolutely loaded with talent. And then Trey Sanders coming back. If he gets healthy and comes back sooner rather than later, he's going to be putting college football on notice as to how unbelievably talented he is. And when we look at the stylistic differences of the running backs within the room, this is a room that even with Robinson leaving, I'm still very, very excited for. And I am still excited for Robinson. I'm excited to see where he goes and how he's able to display his immense talent at some other institution, because sometimes a change of scenery is needed. Sometimes it is just that simple, that you got into a situation and in an unfortunate circumstance, sometimes it's an injury, sometimes it's not. You just got buried in the depth chart. This is a kid who I don't believe will be on the transfer portal for very long, because I think half the nation will be calling, but I really want to hear about what y'all think. Hop down to the comments, let me know what you're thinking here. That's it. See ya.